Hello? Hi. Okay. Welcome back to another art stream where I'm working on the 6 fan art challenge while I'm stuck in quarantine. Normally I would show you an update on the exact where I am exactly in the process, but I thought I would do as a quick change of pace, relatively speaking. I would try to jump straight into the warm up, which takes me about 30 or so minutes before then going back to working on uh, the challenge itself. So I've been for a while I've been using this art book with different models. So as part of my warm up exercise, but today I decided that you know what, let's just do something a little more fun. Let's just draw someone on the internet that I like. And today I've decided I'm going to try to draw uh, uh, Lee Dan Avidan or Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party and Game Grumps. I'm not going to try to draw like I do just want to try to recreate the photo as much as I can as part of the warm up. I'm not going to try to do anything too extensive uh, with the warm up. I just want to use Dan here as a model. This is a still from the music video I Don't Know What We're Talking About, which I suspect, given the history of the naming schemes, could have had a parentheses, and I haven't for a while. Um, so, just in case you're new, gotta get all my, gotta cover all my bases. If you're new, uh, I consider myself to be an intermediary artist. I do not do this professionally, but I've gone to a number of classes to to have gotten like the basics down. So I could definitely be confused for someone who knows what they're doing and who knows what they're talking about. But honestly, this is a lot of my interest and passion for illustration just comes from, well, years of not liking school and doodling in class. And then for a brief period of time believing that maybe I'd want to do something with this. I'd want to make like a career of of drawing. And then sort of giving up on that because I mean it's hard, but it's labor intensive is how I would describe it. So, instead I studied film, but there's not much I can do with that at the moment due to the quarantine. So let's try drawing for fun, and by streaming these exercises, these requests, I can provide video evidence for me that I've done this, and provide video content for people, I guess, generally interested. Um, so right off the bat, I would say the problem with how I've started, uh, whoops. crap. I just need him. I just need to move him aside. So as far as I can tell, using this particular photo of Dan, I have another one in case I get too frustrated. I wanted to use this angle because it's might be my favorite, relatively my favorite shot of that music video, but also because it's a very relatively complicated. It's not 3/4, but it's like two. I don't want to do the fractions on this. Anyway, but what I've noticed that I'm doing wrong is that Dan is way more leaned back because of his expression, his his kind of doomed realization in this video that he hasn't been paying attention. And right now, the first thing that I drew is a little too stiff, a little too relaxed, and I want to and I want to reshape the body to be more, even if I end up exaggerating it, more in line with the expression of that moment, which is a gasp. Or aghast, I guess. Is a gasp a word? Did I just did I combine two different? Yeah, maybe I did. Let's too much. Okay. Somewhat similarly, I was reminded in my attempted intro that in somewhat in the same vein, I guess, of knowing how to draw but not well enough to be a professional at it, because I didn't maybe take enough courses, or I failed a lot of them actually. For my film studies, I'm reminded of the fact that I've gone through as part of my certificate program at George Brown College in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. There's a mandatory compulsory course that you have to take, and it's Screenwriting 1. And Screenwriting 1 goes over some of the basics of writing a screenplay, but its primary focus is the first act of a movie screenplay, not a television one. And so, because of that course, I would say that I'm pretty decently good at writing a first act, or having the basics down for a first act when it comes to the beats of a story. Unfortunately, there has to be more than one act, and, well, oopsie poopsie, I've been struggling figuring out on my own without having, because I didn't need to take the other screenwriting courses. My take on on acts 2 and 3 are a little bit on the flimsier side. Which I bring up because it feels somewhat analogous to me taking courses in drawing and illustration, and now I am doing this for the public, and I still don't necessarily think I know enough to be doing this. Okay. Yeah, the bottom sample that I have right here is much closer to being a traditional 3/4 profile a frontal man. Okay, these terms. Um, Long story. That would be an easier face to try to draw, but I like this one. So even though it's harder, I want to try to get it down. Uh, it might become easier once there are fewer lines to worry about, or I move on to the next layer to provide a darker outline. But I don't want to spend, the entire stream isn't going to be dedicated to drawing Ninja Sex Party, although that is something I could potentially do in the future. Part of the reason I'm starting so soon, the warm up is because I do want to provide a visual, I guess, as soon as possible, something active. Um, Plus, there's a lot to talk about. There should be a lot to talk about, or maybe that's the thing. Maybe there isn't a lot to talk about once I begin working on uh, go back to rather the 6 fan art challenge. I don't know if this blue was the right choice, but I wanted blue. His other eye is kind of hidden by all the lines where his nose should be. Okay. Dan 2. Also, while I'm not necessarily a professional illustrator in the traditional sense, traditional in this context being pencil to paper, I am even less confident in my digital drawing skill and portfolio. Uh, Definitely these streams, I've gotten much better. Okay, kind of messing up Dan's nose here. There's a lot of features in Photoshop. This is a Photoshop Elements 14, maybe it's like, I don't think it's 11. Perfectly functional. It's well, it does everything that I need it to do, but I'm not necessarily familiar with all the features that could make my task easier or harder or more professional looking. I'm far used to doing just kind of like rough lines until finally a picture begins to emerge, and the subject becomes visible and interpretive, I suppose. You can recognize the person for whom I'm trying to draw. Okay, there we go, there we go. It's not quite right, but he is starting to get a uh-oh face. And that's what I want. Alright, that eye's a little too goofy, but I'm having trouble drawing something that's small from that distance, so zoom in. Okay, alright. Not quite the same as the photo, but it conveys what I need it to. So this is good. Let's kind of just rely on my own abilities without the photo. He's got a lot of either shadow or 5 o'clock shadow facial hair that it seems it extends his mouth in such a way that it looks like it's definitely more open. It's not just fully closed, but I'm having trouble, you know, recreating that. Speaking of recreation, the obviously I was going to draw the hair regardless, but my I see that my light blue line has made his hair look a little more straight edged than his natural kind of cloudy Jufro, as he describes the the Weird Al look. Incidentally, this is an aside. I know that I've drawn like a cartoonish fan art. I've made fan art of Danny Sexton in the past, and in the occasion that I had done so, I was working on my own little animated. Uh, I I did publish what I had completed, but I didn't actually finish it because it was a lot of. Turns out animation is a lot longer, harder than this. But something that I'd noticed that had been, I suppose, quote unquote, keeping me up at night was I don't really know what Dan's ears look like, especially in like fan art or how one might depict it in a cartoon. I know that a general rule of thumb is that I believe that I'll draw it here for a sample. The ear is roughly the size. The top of the ear is roughly where the eyebrow is to where the nose is. So if you give someone, say, a long nose, you're giving them a long ear to. You probably need to give them long ears to go with it to make the face look complete. Um, but then again, maybe you're drawing a character who intentionally has short ears. This is more just an observation uh, of some of what I had learned through taking life drawing courses. No, that's not doing it. Maybe too high. Man, you know what? I'll leave it alone. what I'd like to do for this warm-up, other than Dan, but I'm not necessarily running out of time. I can work on this warm-up for as long as I want, if I were so inclined. But you know, the bulk of the video is intended to be about the 6 fan art challenge, and the thought process of going through each individual character, including but not limited to how I feel about that individual character if I know them from anything. That's sort of the basic idea. Um, um, I might be running out of time to start the other warm-up subject. Let's take a quick look without the blue lines. Yeah, one eye is a little messed up. It definitely, it looks, right now, since I have no intention of coloring this in, it looks prettier with the blue the lighter blue guidelines. But otherwise, his right eye, I guess, is a little messed up. And maybe I need to. I don't know if I need to move the eye or shrink it down. I had, so the second like warm up subject I was thinking of was not going to be Ninja Brian in the background, though I had considered it. Um, you know what? Let's do a really quick. Um, really quick Brian in the background. From what I can tell from this shot, uh, okay, so he's facing Dan, which happens to mean he gets to face more towards the audience. So he has a 3/4 profile head, which is perfect. That's like the fun default. But he's playing the piano, so his body is slightly turned. Not as much as you'd think, but enough. So he also kind of has by, I want to say vocation, he ends up having a similar posture to Dan, but definitely more intense than Dan's. Definitely not going to be drawing a piano though. Honestly, I was hoping for to stretch Brian more towards, I guess, the darkness to be hidden then by Dan's outline. But I'm not gonna worry too much for Brian at the moment. If I was gonna draw Ninja Brian, I would definitely dedicate more time for presumably like the warm up. His arm goes way lower than what I've drawn here, so that's disappointing. I'll just draw a very simple, small. kind of messing up on his the sideline of his head. Got some simple eyes, simple angry eyes. His nose is definitely kind of visible, and the mask kind of like just seems to rest on top of the bridge, and then it goes around for the visor. But let's get rid of this sample. Yeah, honestly, getting rid of the sample has helped me see more of where I would. So, where I would clean this up. Like some of these are accidents. I recall bringing up sometimes drawing results in happy accidents. Yeah, yeah, that looks pretty good. He kind of reminds me of a very enraged Tintin. Or a Charlie Brown character, but like an adult. You know, there's comics of Punisher showing up in Riverdale to meet the Archie gang. I'd kind of want to see something like that, but for the cast of Peanuts, because we never see an adult, and maybe if you don't want to show us an adult still, okay, but show us like Spider-Man's pants and imply that's the Spider-Man. That's actually Spider-Man. You can still have the trumpet voice, because no adults allowed. That ear probably needs to be further out. Give him a nice square jaw. Okay, that did not go as round as I would have wanted it to. Yeah, I also, as far as like digital drawing, illustration, painting is concerned, some of my hang-ups, disadvantages. I mean, this is less of a disadvantage and more of just, Simon, if you just figure out how to draw this properly, it wouldn't have to be a disadvantage. I haven't quite mastered the pen stroke of my little tablet thing. And that almost looks like the dragon emblem on his shirt, on Ninja Brian's shirt typically. Let's go for a. That works. There's a reason for choosing a frame from this particular song, other than the fact that uh, I seem to genuinely like the band, but less for the music and more because I watch a lot of Game Grumps. That's been my quarantine binge when I really should have been watching, I don't know, actual maybe shows? I don't know if that comes across as an insult. Anything you can binge watch and be satisfied with, that's a show. Okay. Let's get rid of this, the first blue tutorial Dan. Okay. Yeah, and then I wanted to try to draw Lamar. If the stream appears, if you happen to be coming here while it's live and it seems relatively slow, uh yeah, I don't really have like an Ethernet cable. So most of these streams that I'm working on, they're probably going to end up just being playing as themselves on YouTube, no problem. So I've mostly been relying on that, just putting it onto YouTube. Oh, you know what? Let's move Lamar up here. It's a cartoon character, so I can definitely not worry about too many accuracies. Okay, kind of has trying to figure out the base of the head first before I then go for the extension of the beak. His head kind of morphs into the back of his neck. He doesn't have I don't know, an indentation like a human skull. I don't know. Trying to make up words. I'm trying to make up relative terms. Okay, shoulders are relatively close to close to the neck, but then he has this kind of vase, like jetting out stomach. Like a weird, not like an hourglass, but just kind of plump. It's kind of a plump pterodactyl. So sad. Okay. Now, I feel like the direction I went for the beak is somewhat not. It looks like the claymation Lamar character. Um, his eyes are not like my instinct is to enclose the beak from this top point, this ridge, and then have one eye here and one eye over, far over where his head is. But it looks like, and not a criticism of the claymation. When I say like it's kind of not cheating, but there's a freedom. There's definitely a freedom to animation. There's a freedom to stretch things and possibly break rules or visual anticipation, so long as you can convey what you're trying to convey. So the eye doesn't have to be as far as I would have initially thought. How much does his eyebrows actually for this frame kind of go on the up end? So most of the sad job is coming from his the massive bags, his half-closed eyes and massive bags. Oh, but it doesn't look like he really has. As far as admittedly, as far as this individual photo is concerned, it doesn't seem like he has a head past the eyebrows. There's this sort of dolphin spike here, but his eyebrows might be the last of the actual tip of the head. Okay. Every time I hold, if I hold the tablet pen on a single spot, it brings up this menu, these default brushes for me to. Oh, would you like to change the size? No, I didn't mean to uh, summon you. I was just trying to draw a small object. But that was my fault. I could have potentially have avoided that if I had just uh, actually zoomed up. All right, there's a degree of I'm getting a degree of sad crayon drawing version of this claymation sad pterodactyl. Okay. It's kind of just got sad, kind of saggy body. With a big old tummy. Okay. His shoulder should be a little lower, and then it just kind of like juts down. As for this, just got to get a rough estimation of his hand, and the best place to find his hand is to create the hat that his hand is latched onto. You know, I know it's a fictional pterodactyl, and I don't want to, and I have a lot of trouble with drawing hands, so I don't want to pick on it for that matter. But I feel like that hand is wrong. I feel like the thumb shouldn't be visible from that angle if that's the thumb. Like that, I think that should be the pinky. I don't know. If I was too focused on it, it might be a negative distraction, but it's not really a big deal. Again, animation, claymation, uh, fictional version of a dinosaur, doesn't really matter what the proper anatomy is. But when you apply human characteristics to something, I do start, you know, I think about whether or not if those human characteristics are correct. They don't have to be. I'm just nitpicking. Let's see. Okay, let's try to speed this up a little. Because I would otherwise say that I'm pretty, like, not, obviously not done, but maybe exhausted by this warm-up and should just move on to the 6 fan art challenge proper. I don't necessarily have a time limit, but I do have I do have a competing bladder for my attention and the heat of my air conditioned room to compete with. So hopefully I will still get as much of the content that I'd like to get done for today. But it's a race against my own self-perceived clock. Yeah, let's just go rough around the... So I can just say that I got it done. I know it's kind of a half-assed approach, but I promise you that this is all in the effort to get back to working on the 6 fan art challenge, in which I can dedicate more time to it, but maybe not as much time as I could if I did this off stream. Again, the stream is a measure, is a means for me to make sure that I'm following through. But I don't want to necessarily use the stream as an excuse for why I'm not getting other stuff done. Okay. Bit of a weird it's a weird warm-up that I've decided. Let's see if I can... now I'm sad like I'm Lamar. Select... man... Select link layers. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Oh. Man. Maybe now I can move it though. Nope. This sucks. Alright, fine. Okay. Let's get back to the 6 fan art challenge. So here's where I'm at currently. So the procedure that I've been working with that's worked relative wonders as far as me being able to produce content within a shorter period of time while also making progress with these requests. I've managed to do basically one character per stream while doing some homework behind behind each stream. So I got a lot of work done on Shadow Weaver off the stream as an example. I did a stream for Yellow Diamond, but that video didn't get saved. But I've done a stream for everyone else. Yellow Diamond is basically done. I would say about 95% done. I'm working on giving her a background, which was optional. I don't need to have done that, but I felt like doing that. Menace, I need to add a lot more shadow before I can declare her done. And because of that token, I would say that XJ9 might be closer to being finished than Metis. I would just need to clean up some of my outlines. Mostly it's just a cleanup job, I would say. Get rid of some of the unnecessary guidelines that remain on her. If I could straighten her mouth, I would, but it's pretty solid right there. I might do some minor erasing. And then I drew Mr. Bean because building up to Colossal, I knew that I did not want someone to overlap what I thought was going to be Metis from the top layer. So I knew Colossal had to be moved somewhere else. So I decided I'm going to draw Mr. Bean. That was the next request. Put him in the center. Was not expecting him to get surrounded by the other two, but I'll get back to that. Mr. Bean, right now, I need to add the black outlines, and I don't know if I have to do more for his face. I'm somewhat tempted to stretch it, but it's probably fine as is. It is fairly similar to Rowan Atkinson, but as I said while I was drawing him, I was getting a Leslie Nielsen vibe, just with the wrong color palette. As for Colossal, Colossal is giving me a lot of trouble and will continue to give me a lot of trouble. I've gotten at least one suggestion to maybe remove the shoulder that's overlapping Mr. Bean, but honestly, I kind of like that shoulder just because how much different it is from its right shoulder. I guess as evidence that Colossal was just this huge kind of pain in the ass to draw, I like the obscenity of keeping just how wide I had to draw him just to feel like I had successfully captured the Pokemon. But for him, black outlines, probably some heavy shadows, and then I need to actually manually draw the individual coal lines. So that's going to take some time. For the last stream, I've been working on Shadow Weaver. And Shadow Weaver gave me a huge took a huge amount of time, in part because when I had started, her posture and pose I was going for was completely different to the current end result. Oh, and I'm trying to load some of the earlier previous layers. Where I had one version of her kind of like standing up straight, and I wasn't in the mood for it. I was in a state, and then I moved on to this more crouched version, and I thought this version is a lot more expressive. I like the direction of this one. Let's try to go for it. But in choosing that pose, I had to contend with her outreached right hand, and my hands. I don't want to use Mr. Bean as an example of why I can't draw realistic hands, and I can only draw Sega Dreamcast N64 hands. But the Shadow Weaver hand is definitely a little closer to how I can draw hands, and they're kind of on the messy side. But with digital arts, I can I at least have the advantage to clean up my mistakes and make it look closer to being professional in a way that it looks like I know what I'm doing. Anyway, because Shadow Weaver is was the last one I was working on, I'm still kind of in a Shadow Weaver mode. I've said this a number of times. I get easily distracted when I draw faces, because oh man, I love drawing this. This is so much fun. And because I get distracted on something that I enjoy drawing, everything else ends up taking a back seat. So using my undisciplined self for faces as the example, I'm trying to convey that because I'm kind of obsessing over my Shadow Weaver, it's gonna take a while before I before I end up finishing Yellow Diamond, who is so close to being done. But to be fair, the process that I made with Yellow Diamond also ended up being off screen, and a lot of it was me just being in a Yellow Diamond mode or a mood. And the reason I was in a Yellow Diamond mood was I was so unhappy with the way she was looking. I finally, okay, all right, this has to change. Let's do this. Let's work on this. So I'm working on the sort of heavy graphic novel Shadows for, well, Shadow Weaver, because I know I don't need to worry about the I don't need to worry about gradient, so I don't need to give her a shade of gray or black. I just need to focus on the black that will definitely be there no matter what. And then worry about the shade of darker colors or shade of gray that I need afterwards. For now, yeah. It's not helped that part of her exterior robe, the sort of ring that's on her sleeve, that is a black color. I won't make it solid black, but it does mean there's a direct, like, there's a heavy black next to a a black color and a black solid. I'm partially making stuff up, but I'm hoping that I'm conveying something useful. Yeah. So Shadow Weaver has been giving me some trouble, not just for like line art that I'm trying to get done. Her mask has given me trouble as well. I thought her visor would have been a lot more like a sort of slanty Spider-Man eyes, instead of this sort of extended bat motif thing. But this one is also a solid black. I'll I'll have to figure out where exactly her eye has gone. Because I'm very relatively nervous about my quality of the black outlines. What I like about doing the heavy shadows, the heavy solid, instead of the outlines, just the color, the solid color black. What I like about doing this is I'm able to basically create the outlines that I need, or at least the outlines that I have come across stronger thanks to the I guess dedicated negative space. One of these terms I'm spouting has to be right at some point. Let's shrink this and kind of hope for the best. Sorry, I was thinking of bat because her visor kind of has a bat motif going on. I don't think intentional. Let's see how this looks. It's not the eye that I had given her earlier. Oh, you know what? Oops, I might have Redo. Okay. Uh, I was concerned that my eye was too far away from her anyway. So this is a great opportunity to just kind of maybe find a new home for her eye. Making it closer to her fingers. Except where it was conveyed that it was kind of looking at the viewer. Whoops, that wasn't an eraser. That's definitely too far. Not quite there, but I like the idea of like giving it a little hook at the tip of it, I guess. Yeah, the line that's peeping through is from the grander outline layer. What is... Okay, this must be... What I'm looking at must be the tip of her nail that I've drawn. So let's just trim that. There we go, there we go. That looks nice. Now I tried to... So what I had found looking at some of the samples of Shadow Weaver's mask is that she doesn't have any outlines going over the mask. Her design is just has these flat colors that create the pattern without like the outlines that I would have otherwise instinctively begun placing. So when I realized I needed to get rid of the outlines on the mask, it now kind of ends up looking like this paper mache kind of mess. There's a lot of the colors that I had to put on in advance to get a sense of certainly where her outstretched arm was. But when I applied colors, at least for other characters, I usually would keep those colors around because they were useful. But I'm not sure the colors that I've so far applied I'm going to keep, because they might be too much of their respective color. So the brighter pink might need to be a little darker, and the purple might need to be a little lighter. And then I can properly apply those colors as like different different grades of shading. But for now, I thought they were too much, which is why I've elected to keep her monochromatic. Oh, I haven't saved yet. Alright. So, let's instead layer shadow of colossal. Let's try adding solid black on colossal. Not the same thing as the black outlines. I want to see what colossal might look like with heavier duty shadows. Um. Okay, good, good. This is the layer that I want. So I'm gonna see how this looks. On a what I've non arbitrarily determined where which rocks should get this level of shading. And the problem is I haven't well, everything needs heavier shading, and the stuff that I've heavy shaded for Shadow Weaver I think was out of necessity for and somewhat like an emergency. But for Yellow Diamond, I did so because I was done with all the other colors that I had chosen. Okay, let's try. So normally in the format of these the format of these streams have been that I would do a warm up for 30 plus minutes, and then spend an hour and a half working on the main subject. But at this point in time, I've run out of subjects. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should just continue. Like, do I continue streaming and just show more of the process? Or do I continue drawing this current batch of requests as is for a future stream? Do I work on a brand new subject even if I haven't finished work on a brand new subject even if I haven't finished these 6 requests, which I think would risk me into getting, I want to say, locked out or distracted from completing the 6th requests if I start working on a 7th one. That might be too much. Or alternatively, during this in-between time when I've completed a subject, if I should consider instead, I don't know, stream a game, play something. My current setup really allows for me to just turn on my PC, turn on my microphone, set up my tablet, and just get to Drawing Town relatively quick. But for playing a game, I would have to choose which game, and it depends on it depends on like the I guess the format of where the game is coming from. If I want to play a Game Boy Advance game, if I have the cartridge, I need to set up the GameCube and a bunch of other like middle little things, which is partly why there's an incentive to just stick to PC stuff. I could always like weirdly and probably what would be considered not inappropriate but like optimistically refer to these batch of requests as like a quote unquote season and then just go on a hiatus once I've completed the 6 basic tutorials. Not tutorials. I honestly I don't know how I would do a tutorial, to be honest. Okay, I think I can get away with providing heavier shadow for the base of where all the coal is coming from. Maybe just on one side though. Hmm. Uh, Getting really distracted. Some of it looks good. Some of it I might just need to okay. Goal 2. I might have jumped the gun. Putting shadow on Colossal. So what I'll do instead, I'll do what I had planned for Colossal for a while. Try to just create a bunch of lines from the line tool. I might. There's still a few other details I'll want to add with my own pencil digital penmanship. But for now, I think this is a real. I hope this is. I hope this is a quote unquote good idea. Certainly a faster idea. I think I get less sleepy if I had chosen if I had chosen like a new subject to have drawn. Then I might have felt a little better about my current sort of existential streaming crisis. Alright, I don't want to apply the line tool on his face because I still want a degree of characterization roundness onto Colossal. Let's... Okay. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to fuse... Fuse the line art as is. I think my two mice, uh, the wireless mouse and my tablet, I think they're interfering with each other. They've definitely interfered with each other, but I feel like this particular I feel like my computer is kind of slowing down because of it. And that's... Okay, merge link. Yeah, let's... Let's not worry about the shadow for now. I wonder if this is considered cheating. I'm sure the answer is no, but maybe it's against the spirit of the thing. The cheating in this context being whether to have used, you know, more pencil strokes or this is when I definitely need to use the line tool for. Need a nice pillar to pierce the heavens. Okay. I have no idea why I'm getting so, like, ridiculously tired. It might just be because it's so hot outside today. But it might be making me dizzy. It's either dizzy or I'm just feeling tired and unfocused because I'm streaming to a degree that feels like leftovers. And if I'm providing content, I don't want to feel like that I'm producing leftovers. Okay. What am I gonna do? Let me check something. I had, admittedly, I considered doing the Sailor Moon redraw, but sincerely, but I would need time to, I would need time for that. Man, I'm totally blanking today. I thought I was doing pretty okay for the other ones, but I think it helps to be in the flow, to be creating something. And I'm not creating anything for this particular stream. I'm just going over lines. And that's not... That's... That's fine for me when I'm not streaming. But when I'm streaming, it's getting a little dull. And I don't want to do that to you. Okay. Here's what I think I will... Okay. New layer. Let's try figuring out the gradient for Metis's background. So what I want... I want black to transition into a dark blue, and then a lighter blue before becoming pure white. But it's gotta be mostly blue and not that much white. Okay. So let's see how this looks. That's pretty close. I just got to get the correct angle and amount of... Depending on how you stretch the gradient tool, you can either get not enough. You can get more white than the other colors. This looks pretty... This looks kind of pretty though, but I don't want that. Or in the opposite direction, too much dark color. What I want is to stretch it further beyond the border. I want the other colors to show up. But I want to show as little white as possible, but I need the glow of the light blue to be there. Maybe? I don't mind going back and forth with this level of experimentation. And this is why a lot of this ends up being done off screen, because I don't know how many people genuinely want to see this. This is kind of... It is repetitive, but not in a visually dynamic way that might encourage people to like, comment, and subscribe. You know? Uh, let's try an angle. No, I don't want to do an angle. I want to try to have it go straight down. Hmm. The I'm trying to get like a Velvet Room atmosphere, but A, without drawing the Velvet Room, because that'd take too long. Um, but specifically, I'm reminded of there's a sequence in one of the Persona 3 movies where the main character is having basically a psychic chat with this little spooky boy named Pharos. This is the very beginning of the third movie, and they're not in the Velvet Room per se. Um, Instead, they're in this like subconscious mind that's mostly a dark black void, but you can see like a glow of blue, and then there's a reflective pool as the floor. So that's sort of the motif I'm kind of trying to go for. I don't know then if that means I need uh, possibly more black on the top, but it looks prettier if I manage to get a good amount of blue. Uh, Yeesh. Um, well, I know I'm super nitpicking on this. I think it's also based on like the way, yeah, the way you stretch it affects. So if I stretch it very little, not too little, it goes straight to the top black gradient and the bottom white gradient. But I want the large blue that I've selected in the middle, so I have to do a lot of stretching. I know this is very much, even if I said, this is perfect, this is the amount I want, someone could observe this and goes, it looks just like everything else! You spent so long on this. Wasting our time. How could you do this? Yeah, if I started to stream, say, a game, I would want to... Where is it? There it is. I'd want to stream something where I could do voices. So it'd have to probably be a text-heavy game with not too much voice acting. Fortunately, there's a whole generation of games that I could just do that. That's not a big deal. Um, well, let's save because I'm getting to. I only got one shot to properly erase all this. Aren't exactly do-overs for this kind of thing. I mean, if my line work for this, for Metis's kind of gloved hand is completely enclosed, I can just select the magic tool and delete all this. But all the same, I'd like to try to erase this. Okay, I'm gonna leave that blue mark on our glove alone because that's giving me highlight ideas. I do need to get rid of what's on her neck though. Whoops. Okay, where is the top of... Okay. Layer. New. Metis. Butterfly. So I saw somewhere there's a special Adobe Photoshop butterfly motif. I think it's like special effect brushes. There it is. Okay. Now I want to see what this looks like. Not my not what I had immediately expected. I could almost... I could have the butterflies behind everything. Well, evidently not everything. But also, I wasn't expecting all those multicolors. I wanted a single butterfly. I did not want... Ooh, I can have like a... Man, I really can't control this. I thought maybe it would be based off of... my pencil strokes. It's not a bad looking idea, I want to say, in relative execution, but I do want the one blue color because that's Persona. It's sky blue glowing butterflies. It is really weird to look at though. Let's since I'm likely going to undo this anyway, let's take a look at just erasing the ones that have escaped the confines of the panel. It looks almost cool. Okay. Here's what I think I will do. I think I will leave the butterflies as they are just because it's a cool look. Well, you know what? Since I'm here, first let's whoops. Let's go back to default brushes. Next, yeah, it's a bit of an ugly splotch. I might just have to draw one good butterfly. I also need to fix up these borders. Okay, and let's select linked layers. Yeah, so the reason for... Whoops. Oh, cannot use... It's more... Oh, got it, got it. Right now... So the reason why our eye is like that is because there's a degree of transparency. I think that came from when I was coloring the eye. I mean, obviously, because the backgrounds are typically white, um, let's see if I can find the exact... Oh, no, 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 no. Diamond. Which colors are I? There it is. Okay. So it's not just a matter of I erased her eye because I wanted a white background. I was going to rely on the white background. The reason her eye is to a couple of degrees this way is because I lowered the opacity of the erasure because I wanted a specific shade of yellow that I was able to discover by like the yellow in her eye used to be way too much, and then I'd get rid of some of the opacity, make it similar to the background, which at the time was white, and that's what helped me discover the color that I was really looking for. But I left it as it was, and now it was transparent to lose some of its luster to this purple background. Which the reason that it was in the colossal spot was because I wanted the whole space dedicated to working on it, because I still want to add some background elements beyond. These are just like windows for a space station. It looks like her armor is also partly transparent, or I didn't finish filling in. Like, again, I already said I needed to work on that diamond, but... And the only reason I've even put up Yellow Diamond's background is because I wanted to contrast and compare to Metis's, which I've kind of got up, but as I've kind of mentioned, I want to change the butterflies. It needs to be... They need to either be a single color or one singular butterfly that's glowing. And then I gotta work on her shadows. I will say with the addition of the backdrop, I was unaware of how much I was bleeding out of the lines. And was it all really from... Well, some of it was from that layer. Alright. Whoops. Yeah, if I want to clean up the borders, I'm going to have to actually put in the black layers myself, I guess. Yeah, the one disadvantage of Oh, okay. I suppose it's not one disadvantage. It's a bunch of disadvantages. But the fact that I've let this go on, uh, that I focused on other characters before I was ready, uh, before I managed to finish working on the current subject, is that now there's all these other little tiny mistakes that I've been ignoring. Hmm. Let's see if I can try fixing up the borders with the appropriate background layer and not have to worry about maybe I should consider just filling it in via brushstroke. It's fine. I feel like partly because of me and partly because of the program, it looks like I leave enough like artifacts. Whoops. There's a lot of elements to this backdrop that I'm paying for my curiosity and experimentation. When all I had to do was just draw the characters as they were on a white backdrop, like a Sears photo family portrait. And now look at myself. Look at what I have wrought. Well, I'm going to take this particular stream as a learning opportunity to know what I should and should not be putting in a stream. And I think I've decided, let's not do some of this in-between work. If I'm going to do an art stream, I need a new subject. I believe that's probably fair. Seriously, what is that? Well, okay. Yellow armor 1. Let's fill up these little tiny purple cracks. And then figure out where that mark is. Whoops. Okay. What is that? So, all right, for the record, I'm trying to figure out where this black spot is coming from. It's not the background layer. I don't think it's yellow diamond. Okay, alright, just a second. There it is. There's our guy. Yeesh. Okay, that was bugging me. Because I couldn't just erase it, or erase, like, the gradient color. Because then that might, like, result in more work for me later. Okay. Diamond. Let's do a... duplicate layer. Oh, you know what? Never mind, cancel. New layer. Diamond color. Current color I've chosen is straight from our eyeball. It's a substitute. I need to look at the references before I get comfortable. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters a little, but I'll fix it later. I mean, so even though Metis is not going to stay looking like this, or at least that blue butterfly wallpaper is not going to stick around, I do like the idea of it. So I might try to just recreate it under a different set of circumstances. Put it next to her background proper. As for everyone else, I honestly don't know. I don't think I'm going to give Mr. Bean a background. Just because it seems appropriate, just to give him like a boring white, like Sears portrait background. Shadow Weaver takes up a lot of space, so I don't need to worry about a backdrop, but if I'm going to give her one, I'll probably give her a Horde dark green interior kind of background. For Colossal, I was thinking about using those Gigantamax Dynamax battle spaces for its like color gradient. So it's dark purples, red and blacks. But I won't worry about actually drawing like clouds or anything. Maybe I can draw one. XJ9, because I'm kind of mimicking the simpler style of her show, mostly just a flat sky blue and maybe some very simple clouds. That'll probably be the extent for her. Yeah, I'm at least glad I got to show a little bit about a little with the gradient background before I started getting like antsy with the line art that I was trying to kind of commit to Colossal. But if I'm doing a Colossal stream, I'm doing a Colossal stream, and I don't feel like doing a Colossal stream. I just wanted to do a general art stream. Yeah, even though I don't know if Yellow Diamond's shadows are perfect, I think it exists just enough to like complement the show that this is a tribute towards. And color choices are really good. Metis is, it's getting there. I just have to figure out what exactly I want with lighting and shadows. And if this loads better, I kind of want to go further back because I didn't really get to convey how much Shadow Weaver was giving me trouble. I mean, for one, I was originally going to have her hair even further all over the place, but I think I made the correct decision to just have it go, still overlap, but have it go just straight up. That way she's not getting into too many other panels, too many other characters' way. I'm relatively happy with where let's see if I can find where's shadow and her skin choice. Okay, so this is roughly what Shadow Weaver was going to look like, but because of my like general mood at the time, which was not super positive, I've kind of been bummed out by world events. I instead went for this this somewhat more dynamic. I ended up drawing this more dynamic version of herself. I'm a little surprised by how much erasing I ended up getting rid of this layer. I hope that was necessary. I mean, probably in the long run, but I don't know. I like having evidence of where... I mean, I kept the quote-unquote bad layer just to illustrate how much that I changed the direction of Shadow Weaver, and B, how much like emotion the artist's state of mind can affect where a drawing goes, how expressive they can take it. I wasn't happy until I made her do something way more, I guess, quote-unquote outrageous to the betterment, but also kind of frustrating in a oh man, I have to do a lot more work now. So let's get her back. Back to relative normal. Okay. So, I'll say this, because this is probably going to be it might be safer on my end to just declare this to be the last stream that I do until I get either a new set of recommendations for another 6 fan art challenge, or just work on a different piece altogether. I think trying to work on multiple of the different characters when I'm just not in the mood for working on more than one. I have to focus on one, which is why I think I might be more satisfied with my Lamar than I necessarily am with anything brand new that I tried to do today. But yeah, if you're curious, I will probably end up sharing the completed photo, well, privately on my own Facebook, but publicly on Twitter. So that'll be Simon_offline if you want to follow me there. I have a Tumblr, Simon Said That, and that's about it. If you enjoyed, maybe not this particular stream, but the idea of me doing more art streams, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Somewhat a disingenuous claim, but also genuine. Like, this is good for me to know how much of this is content worth doing more of. Whether I should continue doing art streams, or if I should put art streams aside until I finish the project that's not worth showcasing the process in the background. If I can't show people the final, if I'm struggling as much as I am just trying to talk, but if I'm struggling to continue doing like the little things that wouldn't take me as long as if I did this off stream. What am I trying to say? Come on, Simon. How much of the process do you want to see streamed? I guess that's my question. If you only want to see like the base skeleton and do more 6 fan art challenges, okay, I can do that. If you want to see me kind of struggle with the process post the skeleton parts, so this stream in this particular instance, if you want more of this, okay. But if in the interim you're like, we like watching the illustration portion, but the inking, coloring, during that process, if you've run out of things to draw, maybe stream something else. Maybe like a game. I have a couple of games I had in mind for streaming. I was considering Final Fantasy VI, the Game Boy Advance cartridge that I have. I've never played Final Fantasy VI, so that'll be an opportunity to finally play that game. games that have text but not necessarily voice acting so that I can try to do voices, that'd be fun, whether or not I'm good at it or not. I'd get a kick out of that. That'd be fun. That's that's the rough idea, I would say. Um, but okay. For now, such as it is, thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by, and I will strive to do better. I will strive to have this completed. If I do another 6 fan art challenge, please give me your requests, because I've only got one, and I'll need 5 more. And if I do another 6 fan art stream, and if you don't see the final version, I will showcase the final version and then move on to the new project. That way you have the opportunity to see this one that you've kind of tentatively been watching me do, and then we can start again with a brand new one. Or if you have other like suggestions that I could be doing, such as the Sailor Moon redraw, not that one, but if there's a different redraw that ends up happening, I have an idea for a goofy one with Buzzwole that I might do later. But for now, maybe this is good enough until I focus, discipline myself, and get this done. My room's getting a lot hotter now. It's starting to be summer. We're all stuck in quarantine, so everyone, please stay safe. Have a good night. And take care of each other as best as you can. And I will see you again soon. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye.